Hey everyone, I'm letting everybody into the room right now. Just give me a second here to get everybody loaded in. Pull up my agenda. Larry said he was going to attend the call today, so we'll see if he's able to jump in as well with us. Everybody, can you guys hear me okay today? Okay, thanks. All right. Any wins since this time last week? Any wins along the Asian attraction front, or any wins at all? Okay. Has anybody had any chance to make any calls or reach out to anyone?
We just set up a happy hour event with Robert Weichelt here in Orange County.
Well, last week was a little slow for me, but did engage. Did make some calls. Talked to several people. Got them into our pipeline. That's always the order of the day. I always go into every call with a product I know that I'm trying to accomplish. My product happens to be getting that agent on a call with Larry for a second call, but you just have to determine what your product is, what you're trying to get out of the call with the agent that you're calling. If it's a discovery call, that's a little bit different than a agent attraction call. So discovery calls are just setting, the initial call is just to set up what's called a discovery call, which is your agent attraction call. So know what your products are. That's really the first step. But just to do a quick recap of our agenda, if I could get that up here. I thought I had it, I don't. But before I do that, any questions from last week? Okay, so again, week one's building your foundation. Week two is the 1% approach to productivity, meaning if you're a productive agent, we don't necessarily want you spending a lot of time on agent attraction unless you feel like you can balance your time pretty well. But we want you focused on what's making is bringing in more revenue to you, which is if you're in real estate, it's listing, selling homes. The week three was crafting your value proposition. So hopefully you know what your value proposition is. If you're still a little bit unclear with that, feel free to jump on a call with me or with Larry or with Jeff and talk about where you feel you can add value to other individuals who happen to be in the real estate profession. Week four was mastering the discovery call. This is basically what you say whenever you pick up the phone and have that 15-20 minute conversation with the individual. And I believe it's important to go into the that particular call with an objective in mind. This is when you're laying out your value proposition to the person. You're also just speaking with them, getting to know them a little bit better, or reconnecting with them if you knew them from before. This week is really all about handling objections, and objections could be any number of things. It could, the first thing we want to do is identify what those objections could be. So this is where we'll probably go ahead and ask for some input today on what some of those objections could be. And I'm going to tap into Jeff, who's on the call with us today too, to help with some of those objections, because for all objections really are is just another. It's not necessarily a no. It's just a why should I? It's just everybody's in their comfort zone. Everybody to move brokerages is not easy. It takes some time. It takes some resetting things up. If you have email set up, or if you have a website set up, that has to all change. So, the easy approach, the easy way out is just to do nothing. But people will come up with objections. But if the value proposition is there for them, and I would say probably 90% of the people that we have, maybe even higher than that, 95% of the people that we have brought into our brokerage are very happy with the decision that they made. Either they're getting more opportunities, they're engaging more, they're learning better scripts, they have more training opportunities, they have whatever it is. I would say 95% of our agents are pretty pleased with the decision that they made. So it's just getting past those objections that's really going to be the tough part. So we want to identify the common objections. We want to learn to identify and address those in a professional manner. This is where scripting and role playing is really helpful. We want to practice using those various scripts and outside of these calls, even if you practice on your own or practice with a spouse or a child, practice really does make a difference, especially if you're not real comfortable with it, you haven't made a lot of calls. It's better to mess up in practice than it is doing the real thing. And so anyhow, what have you guys seen out there as far as some common objections? And again, we're recording this, so if anybody wants to rewatch this, or for other people that are not on this call right now, they can help get them caught up a little bit with our agenda. But what would you guys say are some of the common objections that you might encounter on a call?
I hear them say, I've been
Just
with
go
my
ahead and
broker
unmute you and
forever, and, they like their broker that they've been with, that they've been there such a long time, they don't want to make a change, is what I've been hearing.
okay. What are some other, so first one is, don't want to change. And they like the broker. And I'll be honest with everybody, handling objections is not my strong suit. So again, I'm going to tap into some of the people that are on the call that it is their strong suit. But what are some other objections that you guys have encountered? Anything, Jerry? Have you talked to anybody or made some connections with anybody that you've run into some objections?
I've talked to very few people.
Okay.
Being honest, I really haven't engaged about moving to EXP with very many people at all.
Okay, and again, I want to focus on the fact that we want the discussion to really, stem from not so much moving to EXP, but just having a conversation about our group. Our group just happens to be with EXP because we had to pick a brokerage, and this brokerage is a phenomenal brokerage. There's a lot of good tools that we have within the brokerage. A lot of things that I think the expenses are very low. We can run our businesses very inexpensively, but we chose EXP because of the tools it had. Our group could be really it could be KW, it could be Remax, it could be Century 21, it could be any brokerage out there. Carrington did it years ago with developing their own brokerages. We just happen to not want to have to go down that route of creating a whole new brokerage out of this. Glenn Sanford did it for us, so we thank him for that. Any other objections you guys have come up with? And we can certainly take these too.
One that I like that I've heard is, when someone says, I love my broker, I'm not interested, or what have you, they don't want to have that initial call. And one thing that I heard that I haven't actually used yet, but it sounds really good, and I'm excited to actually use it. And it's, well, what is your backup plan? What if, one day something happened at your brokerage or with your broker, if you're working for a small firm, do you have a backup plan? In your car, in your vehicle, do you have a spare tire? Right. And if you do, what's the spare tire for? Well, it's for, if you get a flat, right? If you need it someday. So, backup plan, and the spare tire analogy. If you have a spare tire in your car, then you probably should have a backup plan for if ever you were to leave your broker for whatever reason.
Yeah, that is a good analogy. You actually brought that up before, and it was a good reminder to have that particular analogy, because that would be a way to get a person to initially just, hey, let's take a look at it. Let's look at the model. Let's look at the group that we have in place. Would this make sense for you? Maybe they're giving you some pushback and even investigating it. I had an agent today. It's like, if this is a call about EXP recruiting, I don't even want to have the call today. And I'm like, where'd that come from? I never even brought up EXP, and she says, well, I've been seeing it on Facebook, and it's like, well, look, if, of course, our group isn't right for everybody. And I actually have been taking more of an approach where I'm going into it I'm interviewing them to see if they're the right fit for us, rather than are we a right fit for them? Because whenever you go from the position of power, you go from a position of, we do have a really good group. We really do have a good thing going on. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we don't want bad eggs in our basket. You know, we want to keep the troublemakers out of the group a little bit. But of course, we wouldn't, I would never say that, but you know, I think it. And
I've said it.
okay, well, maybe when I'm at 100, I'll investigate.
I mean,
looking into that.
I've said, you know, maybe it's not me, you know, if anything, you know, talk to someone that knows a lot about EXP and be open minded. You know, you may, you know, let's make sure you don't like it. Like you say you're not interested. Let's check that box and be certain you're not interested, right? The other thing too, I tell them, you know, you may not be the right fit. I don't say it in a bad way. I just say, hey, you and EXP may not be the right fit. You know, some people are, some people aren't, quite frankly. Not everybody is fit for EXP. And then the other thing too is, you know, and the whole getting them to that first appointment and to open their mind is what's important, because I was invited to EXP like 7 years ago, and by someone I know I'm very close with, right? And I still told him not interested, right? And it wasn't until I opened my mind, Kelly at an REO conference said, Jeff, just go look at the model, soup to nuts, right? Hear it from somebody that knows what they're talking about. Go to a lunch and learn. That's why lunch and learns are so freaking powerful. Go to a lunch and learn and sit there, have lunch and talk to these people, you know, different people, not just Jeff or not just Kelly or whatever. Talk to different people about EXP and see what you think, right? Open your mind is most important. That day, I called Larry White on my way home from that lunch, and I said, I'm in. 100% I'm in. I can't believe that I didn't listen to this whole concept sooner. And that sold me. So it's getting them to open their mind and then letting them see everything soup to nuts. I like to say that, soup to nuts, the whole thing. And then last thing I'm going to say is I use GROW, goals, reality, obstacles, way forward. That's the conversation I have with people, is I'm asking them more questions. You know, it's like 20 minutes of questions and 5 minutes of telling them what EXP can do for them. And then another 5, you know, talking about, you know, how it's selling them, closing, right?
Can you say that one more time? Goal,
GROW, goal. What are your goals? And then what's the
GROW.
reality? What's the reality? Reality is usually I'm not meeting my goals. Well, what are the obstacles? Well, a broker doesn't have this, or we don't have that, or I'm not making my calls, whatever it is. And then way forward, W, is how EXP can help them. Because it may not be rev share, right? All those things they're talking about have nothing to do with rev share probably. And that's why you got to be careful talk about rev share, because that's a big turnoff for a lot of people, even though people like me and Larry White and Eric, people with a lot of people in our rev share group, we know, oh my God, it is a great thing, right? I got an email or a text via Facebook once that said, Jeff, EXP will change your life. Meet with me, from some random person. And I laughed. I laughed at that person. And now I'm thinking, man, that person was 100% right, because it has changed my life. It's changed Kelly's life. It's changed a lot of people's life in my organization and that I know here at EXP.
Well, here's
Put it in
the
the
other
chat.
thing. Here's the other thing on that, Jeff, is like, you start talking about rev share that somebody that doesn't care about, like if somebody's trying to figure out how to pay their bills, this is where you get, I don't want to recruit somebody. I just want to sell real estate. So this is where, when you follow that GROW model, when you know what their goals are, realistically, that they're not achieving them, what's standing in their way, now we can start to come with a solution, with an opportunity based. And again, we just talked to that. The stock, the revenue share, all of that's extra, right? Maybe we put an NSA agent underneath somebody, and now they're like, I've got calls, Larry, EXP just deposited $500 into my account. Like, why did they do that? Like, well, let me see. Well, what's today? Oh shit, it's the 20th. It's rev share, like it's rev share payday, right? Like on this day, oh really? Yeah, do you know? And like, so there will be opportunities to get people excited about rev share, but lots of times we have to like build the foundation first. If we're not producing, rev share is irrelevant, right? If we're not hitting their goals, rev share is irrelevant. So this is where, again, we got to be a little bit more than just throwing as much stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and real quick, that's why that lunch and learn for me worked, because I got to hear about everything, right? So I did hear about rev share, but there was enough time in that lunch and learn to hear about everything. And then I heard the things that got my, radar up, like Commissions Inc. That used to be the CRM there. Then I was paying $500 a month for each seat for my team, right? Just that in and of itself was what was the trigger for me. And Larry didn't know that. The other person that tried to get me EXP didn't know that. But the fact that I heard that, right, and there was good. So, like Larry said, don't obviously concentrate on one thing too much, but it is good for us to hear, all the little different things that'll be good for us. And that's why lunch and learns are so effective.
So Larry, we were talking about objections and just I threw it out there like what some of the common objections were, and I'll get right back to you, Angela. And a couple of objections where they don't want to change, they like their broker. And Jeff brought up about having a backup plan, like a spare tire in your car. So we were just, I think probably one of the biggest issues that we have right now as a group, it's just the people on this call right here, is making that initial contact. So it's, how do you reach out initially before you even have an objection? And we're talking about objections that may come up, but you really don't know what's going to come up. It could be anything. It could be, I don't like the colors of their logo. It's you don't know. So we were just, that was the discussion we were having. And then Angela, I think you were going to ask something or.
Well, yeah, another objection that I've heard when speaking to other brokers is, I've got a few closings in my pipeline and I don't want to lose those.
Yeah, that's a big one. Larry, what's your I still am question what to say on that sometimes.
So that depends on the brokerage, right? I will tell you 90% of brokerages, the ones that I've seen that, in my eyes, kind of screw agents, Berkshire Hathaway, Sotheby's, and some RE/MAX offices. Those three, if you transition while you have pending deals, you might go from a 90-10 to a 50-50. 90% of the time, they will pay you out, like if you're at KW or most other small independent companies. It depends on the ICA agreement, right? Like, have you read your ICA agreement? Most people haven't, or it was so long ago. So it's like, well, look, most companies will still pay you out at that. What I would like to do is transition you, get your systems and stuff set up so we put everything new under here. Because, like, do you agree that this is a better fit for you? Well, I don't want to have this conversation in a year and you're still in the same place with deals pending. So are you open to working out a transition plan, and assuming you don't lose any money and we can make this a smooth process?
Yeah, and then one other thing I know about that is you can do a pass-through, which means that you come over to EXP when your broker from your old company pays you whatever the commission is. EXP will enable you to let that just pass through EXP. They don't touch it. They don't touch a dime of it. You get the entire commission, and that's called a pass-through. And you just have to set that up when they're onboarding.
There's other people that are capped already. Oh, well, I'm capped. Like, I can't go over there. Oh my gosh. So if I could get EXP to honor your cap, is there anything else that's stopping us from moving forward? Generally, that's just the first one that they're like, oh, this is going to get them off of me type thing. Like, this is going to get Larry to shut up for a little bit. But I'm like, oh, well, tell me more. Like, so if we can solve this, can I do this? Well, like, because if that's the case, like, I'll call up Amy Weaver, we'll get an exception. I'll call up Russ Lagan, like, I'll get that today, right? But most of the time there's more. And so I'm just using this. Okay, tell me what else. Well, then I got to pay for my costs and this and that. Oh my gosh, if I could get you a couple months at 100% to help cover your transition costs, right? Would there be anything else that's stopping you? I'm just going to keep asking it. I'm going to solve the problem, ask the question. Anything else? Like, let's get all of this shit out so I know what we have to deal with here.
Yeah, and I think for an agent that isn't well versed in that, this is where your three-way call it becomes very vital. Because initially you could get some of these, maybe get some of these objections out of the way, or maybe you just don't even maybe you shouldn't even handle a call on your own. Maybe you should just get your sponsor to be on that three-way call so that when these objections do come up, Larry can handle it, I can handle it, Jeff can handle it. So my recommendation would be to, bring those agents into a three-way call immediately, especially if you've never done this before, because they might just have a simple objection that can be solved without much of an issue whatsoever. And we solve that objection. It's like, well, I'm on board. And it doesn't take much the hardest part about setting up a three-way call is the coordination of it, is to making sure everybody can do the call at a convenient time. But I can say for myself, and probably for Larry to a certain degree, we have we have some flexibility in our schedules. I can usually move things around to do a three-way call. Jeff might be a little bit tougher because he's actively selling. He's got a lot of clients he's working with. But keep that in mind. Don't try to do this alone. We're just bringing up the objections that might come up, and I think these objections would come up on the let's set up a call type call. This would be like the before the discovery call. So what else could we talk about as far as objections to handling that initial let's set up a three-way call with my sponsor or my team
Between
leader?
you and my wife, like my feelings are starting to get hurt. You guys saying that I'm not a producing agent, goddammit. I have one deal in escrow and another listing. Between you and my wife, I'm starting to feel like those don't matter. Okay, so I am a producing agent every single year at EXP.
Hey,
I'm not.
Larry,
Well, I'm
let's,
not.
let's remember, my goal is to be where you're at. So my production is here, my rev share is here. I want to replace my revenue or my production with rev share, and then continue, attracting, helping the organization bring on more agents, and that's what I want to be my full-time job, is what you're doing. So we admire you. I know you're kidding, but seriously, you rock.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump in and throw you off there.
No,
yes,
but
Eric was asking about other objections that were coming up with guys. And I agree with Eric, like lots of times. I mean, just because I know the size of all of your guys' organizations here, you might not be the right person to have those conversations. I was texting back and forth with Jared. Well, what do I say with these people? Just introduce me to them. Introduce them to Eric. Like,
Don't say anything.
Say like, hey, have you heard about EXP? No. Be like, oh my gosh, Eric, you're into REOs? Man, I just partnered with American Destiny and REO Alliance, and my business has went through the roof. They might have, I don't think they have opportunity, like anybody in Central Oregon. Dude, you could be their go-to. Do you want me to introduce you? That's it. Do not make this more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, good point.
Everybody on this call, we have something that nobody else does at EXP. The ability to drive business, right? We have all of you guys are effing success stories, right? Because I know what's happened since you came here and what you had before. You still have everything you had before. It's just increased, right? Now, California might be the exception, right? Just because there's hardly anything in there. But just tell your testimonial, and not that you changed companies, you partnered, right? That's it. Just get your script down. Use this call to practice that script.
Yeah, partnered, leadership versus upline, organization versus downline, attract versus recruit. One of my favorite objections is the office objection, right? Especially for a producing agent. Well, I have an office here at KW or wherever. I don't want to lose my office. You guys are virtual. Well, heck, for let's say it's $100,000 more you're going to take home at EXP. So you take 20,000 or even 30,000 of that, and you buy your own office wherever you want. You can do it with it whatever you want, decorate it the way you want. You're never going to have someone, you know, threatening to take it away if your production isn't there. I mean, being able to buy your own office and have a surplus of commission funds left in your bank for you and your family, I mean, that's huge. The other thing too on that too is, you know, if they're not really looking for an office but need an office to go to, well, Regus, right? I did not know about Regus, by the way, before I came over here. I found out about Regus at that Lunch and Learn, and that was one of the things that sold me. That was that and Commissions Inc., you know, the CRM, getting that for free. So, you know, knowing that I can go to a Regus, and then I have some agents in our organization that have been in a Regus, of course, surrounded by entrepreneurs, not agents, right? Would you rather go in an office surrounded by a bunch of agents looking for deals, or a bunch of entrepreneurs that can give you deals, right? I want to be surround myself around people that can give me deals. You know, do your prospect and do your work in a Regus. You know, on my laptop, it has my Russell Realty Group sticker on the front. And sometimes I'll bring in a just sold or whatever. You know, I've heard of agents all over the country getting listings and buyers from just sitting in those Regus offices. So, you know, the having the virtual company with Regus office has been paid dividends for lots of agents.
Jeff, it's funny you brought that up. I would say that leaving my brick and mortar brokerage and my office was one of the biggest obstacles I had mentally. For 17 years, I was the guy that was known for always being in the office 6 to 7 days a week. I was always there. And I was terrified of the idea of working from home. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off, kept me up at night. And I would say within about a week, I was completely acclimated. I put a lot of hours in the spare bedroom upstairs here, but it's like I didn't even miss a beat. I don't miss it one bit. The amount of production that I can get done working from home compared to having to drive to and from an office all the time and then deal with all the distractions of everybody wanting to talk to me about what they had going on and ask questions. My production working from home is substantially greater than it was ever working out of a brick and mortar franchise brokerage.
Yep. 100%. I couldn't agree with that more. And I always tell people that EXP, between their tools and everything else, which includes working from home, being able to you know, start work on a dime and stop on a dime, that my production went up 42%, right, by coming to EXP. So there's so many efficiencies. It's maybe more effective. So it's enabled me to close more, spending less time. So that's good to hear. Thanks for sharing that.
It could be a lot. It could be a lot of distractions in an office. What else would you guys see is, and I have a couple, I don't have to run right at one, but so I can stick on for a minute or two, but any other objections that you guys can see or that you've run into when making these reach outs to agents?
Yeah, Robert just nailed it. Stories,
Yeah.
Stories sell. Jared, what did I tell you yesterday? Tell your story, right? Like you could go buy your own goddamn commercial building with the business that you have in the pipeline. Like buy a building, rent it out to your old broker, for crying out loud. I don't care. Like you use it as an investment, right? Like, but like those are the opportunities that you have with this. And I think it's going to be 4 to 8 year cycle that we're in the thick of this, and we continue to diversify and continue to do this.
Yeah.
My story would sell if I would tell it.
That's it.
So there you go.
I think I've sold 14 million in revenue this year just from this group.
Sweet. You need to share that.
Yeah, that
Lunch
means
and Learns,
well,
man, I'm
that's
telling you.
where our social media plans come into play, right? Like most of us don't leverage social media to attract more clients, to tell your stories, to attract more agents, etc. Like this is where, and it doesn't need to be all real estate, right? Like maybe it's 3 or 4 posts a week and it's talking about family, like the Ford model or something like that, 4 days a week, right? Like just using that Ford model. And when it comes to real estate, like you tell your story. Like
You guys can use,
more clients.
you guys can use other people's stories. If you don't have a story, use somebody else's story. I mean, it's we're all one group. We're all one cohesive unit. You don't even have to use people's names. Just here's an agent in our group and this is the position they were in and this is where they're at, from joining us. And would you like to have more of a conversation? Great. Let me see what's on. Let me pull up Eric's calendar and see what he has available on his calendar. Let me pull up Larry's calendar and see what he has available on his calendar and just put us on. And if there's nothing that's like in the near future, text me and I'll text you back a couple times and Larry will do the same. We'll get these particular agents spoken with sooner than later. So
I have a quick question, Eric, because I have to jump to not the call. This is Sean.
Sean.
I know quite a few agents from the Remax, especially my local in Remax here. Jeff might know Jennifer. Jennifer parents was one of the first Remax franchisee. So the model, before I joined EXP, they tried to recruit me for a few years, and the model is only $5,000. That's it, and then the cap of 5,000, and the rest is just like EXP, $350 per transaction, and they only request but not require. The agent try to send them to the escrow company with the deals. So how can I recruit those agents that join in because of this kind of offer?
Well, first for me, what I do is I do some recon. I've applied for what the heck company? Epic? Yeah, Epic. Because I want to see inside the crystal ball and see what they're selling. So the more you can know about your competition, the better. So I'm not saying you guys should go apply for something, but just get as much information as you can about it and know what's really behind the smoke and mirrors, because it's not always what it appears to be on the surface, and that's for sure. And it's not like EXP. It might sound a little like EXP, but I guarantee you it's not like EXP. So
we had an agent that was paying a per transaction fee, and they did 40 deals a year, and we figured out their per transaction fee worked out to like 40 grand in commissions per year, and they would have had a $16,000 cap at EXP. So that was pretty much an easy one because they were overpaying their broker. So that's another thing, Sean. Just get all the facts, and then let's have a call with that agent and myself. Are they REO agent or?
I will find out. That office I know quite a few agents. One agent I probably will ask on the side that Larry know pretty well too. I think probably Lena Chu, right? She's one of the founding member of the area Inland Empire, along with me when we founded the chapter. She's from that Remax. Okay, I haven't talked to her, but she's pretty much running her own company within that Remax thing. So I'm gonna check with her. But I know they have expanded out to a few more franchise, a different name. I think Jeff probably know Remax Top Producer in Chino Hills area is that model that Jennifer has come up. A few broker has come on and then developed that one. I don't know how they work, but they have several so-called franchises around that Remax Champions, which is based in Upland. That's Jennifer, and then you have Top Producer and a few other Remax leaders, those kind of things. They also based on the same model.
Yeah, and once again,
here's
Sean, it's just good, Larry.
Well, I was just gonna say, if I'm talking to a agent that does 5-6 deals a year and they're at 100% company or something like that, probably not the right fit.
Yeah.
Right? Like you might be fighting an uphill battle, right? This is where I was talking to somebody the other day, talked to the Century 21s, the Coldwell Bankers, that are on a traditional split model. They're not getting business. They're not doing this, right? Like make your life easier. because there's plenty of those that are around. Like it was we had to work through kind of your model at Remax. Like I remember that same conversation and stuff with you, and it wasn't instantaneous, which is fine. So we might start those conversations and stuff like that. The hard part is we don't have the testimonial and the story because California has been so dry. When that happens, that becomes a different story. 100%, 10, 90-10 and you're doing 4 or 5 deals a year is irrelevant in your area if you're doing 15-20 over here and you have a $16,000 cap. Now we can start to put those. So sometimes we're just keeping up foreign relations until the time is right.
Yeah.
Got it. Mhm.
All right, guys. Well, last chance for any questions today. I'm gonna hit you the bolt here in a couple of minutes, but anything else that you guys wanted to discuss or go over during this is week 5, handling objections, and we can certainly talk more about it next week, or you can email me or get on a Zoom call with me or Larry, and we can talk through this a little bit more. But before we end off today, any other questions from the group?
I just wanted to make sure that everyone saw I put the grow kind of explained in the chat under the link. So just in case you're not familiar with it, it's a nice little breakdown for everyone.
Yeah, I like that. I'm actually going to enclose that in next week's newsletter. So I'm always looking for
Thanks.
ideas in
Cool.
these calls. So anything you guys can bring my way, it makes my life easier when I put those newsletters together.
Of course.
But anything else, guys? I got to run here in a minute or so, but anything else that you want to discuss? And
No, great call. Thanks.
all right, well, you guys have a good rest of the day. And remember, email, text, or call any questions. We're available to you all the time. So just reach out. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.